Hey everybody, it's Race Sunday. Today we are in Mexico. Here is our card. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting race. I would have normally picked Red Bull, McLaren, and some form of McLaren drivers, but the prices of when I switched over to Ferrari kind of messed my card up a little bit. So couldn't actually afford the McLaren drivers again. So anyways, let's talk about the race results. All right, so yeah, it was an interesting race. It's Mexico. I think the thing I really like about Mexico is like the intro music is pretty interesting with the
I think I like the podium ceremony. That was interesting too.
The mariachi bands playing
and the winner of the race gets raised up on the car with a sombrero on. Anyways, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But
yeah, let's talk qualifying.
I think okay. So my take on qualifying, and I'm gonna say overall, was there's a problem I think with qualifying in that everybody is so busy jockeying for position. But because they don't want to get caught out with this new directive that's been in place for the last, I don't know, like 4 or 5 races, if you can't go too slow. So normally what they do is they all go out, they all back up right before they start their last flying lap, and they would go too slow. And so the race directive came out and said, go faster. And now what they're doing instead is they're sitting at pit exit. In fact, I think it was like 6 or 7 cars got dinged in Q1 for essentially stopping at pit exit, which if you've crossed the white line at pit exit, you're not allowed to do. So anyways, I mean, there was definitely some gamemanship afoot, and it ended up catching a few, drivers out, and particularly one big name.
Yeah.
So, Norris out in Q1. I mean, we've seen pretty much everybody go out in Q1 this year of big names, except maybe Verstappen. But yeah, Norris was and through no fault of his own. He just, the timing, because if it got backed up in the pit lane, he did not get a warm-up lap in and then cross for his flyer before time ran out. So
yeah, and I thought there was maybe like a yellow flag in that was
later. That was later. That was later. Yeah. So that was Q1, and then Q3.
No worthy
Q2.
Q3.
I think Q2 was when there was the yellow flag, or maybe it was Q1.
That was Q1. That's why Norris couldn't finish the lap because
there was something else too. You're right. Anyways, there was
problems. It was not relevant, but he was just out.
He was out, but that's okay. He's going to drive up through the.
Yeah. So if you're in the fantasy pool, he would have gotten you a lot of
Buku points.
Huge points. I mean, McLaren's got 57 points this week. So.
I think the other thing to look at was we've been hearing in F1, FP1, FP2, FP3. Sainz was sick. He was not looking well. Leclerc wasn't looking well as a Ferrari, so it didn't look like it was going to be a Ferrari weekend. And Albon was on fire. He looked so good, and actually in Q2 he kind of got screwed because he had a track time deleted, and so instead of being in 10th position going in, it was actually Tsunoda who made it into the 10. Or it was Joe. No, it was Joe. Sorry, it was Joe.
Yeah.
Joe made it in, and Albon was out. So that kind of sucked. But you knew that the Williams had pace. And then, so then what happened in Q3? Noteworthy qualifier for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so, top of the...
Who do we think's at the top?
You think Verstappen, but, surprise, it was the Ferraris. Both Ferraris 1 and 2.
Leclerc and Sainz.
And I was like kicking myself. I'm like, oh man, I should have just left it as a Ferrari card. That would have been totally great too. I mean, I think it would have been great. Verstappen, it was actually followed by Verstappen. Verstappen tried to squeeze it in at the very last minute and couldn't do it.
And then it came down to like, who else could do it? Could Hamilton do it? Could Russell do it?
Yeah, and then the hometown hero, where did he come in? Like
5th.
He actually came in 5th. So that leaves a 4th spot open, and who could it be?
Danny Rick,
Mr. Guy Smiley himself. Like, wow. So let's talk about.
He had a shot for a moment there of being pole. Like,
I guess why.
So AlphaTauri brought. Okay, so number one is to understand race fans. Mexico is the highest altitude track, so completely different nature to every other track they race. Like, just downforce factors, setup of the car, so different. And on top of that, they brought AlphaTauri had an upgrade, and they just were dialed in. Tsunoda looked strong too. Like, he really should have been in Q3 too. Like, It was awesome. It was awesome. Very, very well deserved. Awesome to see Danny Rick back up there.
All right. Yeah. So
let's talk about the race. Okay, so that's the setup. Okay, and I think gotta throw out there, and this is a known fact about Mexico. Anybody who is in pole position never wins the race. And unfortunately,
yeah.
Let's be honest. Leclerc, this was his 20th pole position.
He has no idea what to do with the pole.
Ferraris destroys their tires.
But Charles Leclerc in general just has no idea what to do with the pole.
And the Red Bulls are rockets, and he's surrounded by Red Bulls. So.
Yeah, exactly. So
what happened? Who came third?
All right, let's talk about who came third. You know what? He doesn't know what to do with the pole, but he still came in third.
Very well.
And you know what? It was actually an interesting race, and we'll get into it a little bit as we open the packs.
Yep.
In second place, we have Lewis Hamilton.
Hammer time.
It was hammer time.
He's beloved too. Like, I mean, if it's not Checo, their next favorite driver is Lewis Hamilton in Mexico.
Yeah, and number one obviously is Max Verstappen, and by like a mile. Like
I think he won in the end. Well, it would have been more.
It would have definitely been even more.
I want to say it was like 10, 15 seconds he won by. Like, it was a lot, but it could have been a lot more.
It would have been at least. I think. Yeah. So we'll talk about what happened, but like it could have been at least 30 seconds. Pretty much half the lap. Like. It was crazy, and this is actually one of the shortest.
Actually, I don't know. I take that back, because depending on how it played out, tire strategy was important. Some people were saying 1 or 2. Softs were nowhere. You had to have mediums or hards. Hards looked like they were the right thing to go with.
Well,
they might have hunted him down.
But
and he even said that himself.
It's interesting because he said softs has nowhere, but yet Lando Norris actually started. I think he was actually
he pitted so fast.
He was pitted, yeah, he was so fast. Like,
and then he put on the hards, and that's when he charged up.
I would have thought tire degradation would have been a big thing, but I was wrong.
It was a thing because they had to race on hards. It was a thing,
right.
But it wasn't because of the track conditions. It was because of the altitude.
So let's talk about what happened in the race. Let's
So
right off the bat, you have Ferrari, the Ferraris, and the lights go out, the Ferraris are going, and the Red Bulls.
The Red Bulls put Leclerc in a
sandwich.
Ferrari sandwich, yeah. Whereas, as I heard some commentators say, it was not a panini. Actually, I think that was the Ferrari boss. So,
it was Verstappen said that.
Anyways, so yeah, Guanyu. Speaking of which, so he was in the top 10, but he fell back pretty quickly. Bottas actually was the one who looked really strong of the two.
It's because Joe smelled something funny.
He said he smelled like something was burning.
Smelled like something was burning. I made a gas joke, and apparently I guess the TV must have been listening because the guy made that same joke right after I said it. It was like it was a spicy foods. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Anyways, but so Perez came up the inside. Max had the inside line. Leclerc's right with him. Perez got a great launch off the line. Slipstream up behind Leclerc, tries to go around, but you can't go 3 wide. And we saw that happen 2 races ago, where Lewis Hamilton took himself out on George, and
it's exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. Unfortunately, Perez took himself out.
We thought he was when he got into a pit, he could have done it, but when you actually look at the replay, it the whole car when it landed just basically crumbled. It was
basically this picture of Leclerc. Yeah, Perez got a much closer look. To
the car very it was. I honestly,
that wasn't blind, by the way.
I honestly thought.
That's just what the car was.
I honestly thought that Leclerc would have got some sort of damage from the impact of Perez's car coming from the back, even the front tire. I was very surprised that nothing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I think at the end of the race, Leclerc actually got called into the steward's office because he was essentially driving with a broken front.
Well, he was, but they could have used the meatball flag, and they called him in, and they didn't do anything because, quite frankly, they could have used the meatball flag.
Oh,
so
100%.
I mean, it was a little bit silly. Poor Checo though, he was heartbroken.
Oh yeah,
he really had a shot at winning this one, or at least coming second.
Oh yeah, I mean, people were. I don't know. I was gonna say I thought people were kind of not happy with Leclerc, but I don't know.
They were booing Leclerc because he took out Checo, but he apologized.
But it was really Leclerc. It was racing incident. It was racing incident.
But he said that he had nowhere to go, but there's still
Yeah, he was sandwiched. What's he gonna do?
Anyways, it was good, but
Hey, I think it's funny because this is the second sandwich that Checo's found himself in with looking at Ocon and how he was on the other basically the same thing. He was on the other side. It happened to be
Oh,
on
a
the other
couple
side
weeks
a couple
ago.
of weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Anyways, that's an
unfortunate.
old race. Let's not talk about that. Let's focus on this race. But yeah, so I think that it was a good race. There's Lewis. He hated the car in practice. He wasn't really happy with the car, even though they have upgrades in qualifying. And then he loved the car this race.
Oh yeah.
Like, he just came alive. Even Russell was looking strong, but he couldn't quite turn it up the same way. He got stuck for quite a long time, battling with Piastri. And yeah, there was a lot of contact this race. So what else do we have? We had Perez went out right away. We had a lot of different little contacts going on, battling. But I mean, big one was you had K-Mag taking, like, his car fell apart basically. He hit a curb, something broke.
Something broke in the back
he
wheel and
suddenly
just
shunted into the wall, like big bad shunt.
and he
Red flag.
he got out of the car like a bat out of hell because the car all of a sudden just started catching on fire and it took a while. Like if you actually didn't see the crash, like you would have thought, man, like something totally tragically happened that freaking thing because like his tires were all over the map and it was just a crazy crash. And then Max wasn't happy with that one. I mean, it was a red flag, and Max.
Max wasn't. Don't worry about that. That's not. He wasn't that he wasn't happy with it. I mean, it doesn't help his race because he was ahead, but that's not what it was about. It was. Max was asking more about why they were yellow flagged for a while than they red flagged it, and he's right. They were already cleaning up the car when they red flagged it. They were really slow to red flag it. So he had already come in. He'd already gone around twice. He'd come in, gone in the pit because he had such a lead, changed his tire, went back out. Norris went in, changed his tires, came back out. Albon went in, changed his tires, came out. Like, that's a long delay to go to red flag. So I just don't think that the race stewards were really on it this race.
Yeah.
Sonoda, oh my God, Sonoda.
Let's talk Sonoda.
He was battling it out with Piastri. He kept trying to get past him. And
it might have actually been one of the first races where both AlphaTauris would have been in the points, if I'm not mistaken.
The first race that both AlphaTauris were in the points, and they were looking really strong for a double points finish. And Yuki couldn't help himself, and so he almost took himself out once, hit Piastri's tire, managed to recover, and like next lap tries the same thing and completely takes himself out, shunts it. And then Piastri was a walking wounded, so he was falling down the points a bit. He really should have finished, I think, ahead of Russell in sixth. But Russell and Riccardo both got past Piastri because he was walking wounded. He said that at the end. He was lucky to finish in the points.
I was looking. When Lando came up behind him and asked to pass him, and I'm like, yeah, I think there's definitely something wrong with Piastri's car at that point.
No, he played the good. Vettel. Man, how long till Vettel says he's coming out of retirement? That's what I want to know.
That's a nice card.
That is a nice card. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. But you had both. I don't know what's going on with Aston Martin.
I actually missed what happened to Alonso. Like
he just retired. Like
I missed. Like something happened and I missed it. And I knew what happened to Stroll, but like
both. Like I think the bottom line is there's something wrong with the car. They both retired the car. Like, it wasn't like they shunted in the wall. It wasn't anything. There was problems with the cars. They retired the cars. And then the worst was poor Logie Bear. Logan Sargent, literally the final lap, his fuel pump goes, and he has to go in the pit. They're like, you're not going to get points anyways. You know, Albon's in the points. You're not going to get points. Although he was sitting up in 12th right before that, too. He was going to have a really good finish, and he couldn't make it around the final lap. Like, he had to go in the pit. So.
But I think in the fantasy thing, because I think he finished most of the race, it doesn't actually count as a DNF. It's not a DNF. It's not as DNF. You don't lose. No. You don't get minus 20 for that one.
No.
That's an interesting Danny Rick card. Oh, we got a green card here.
Yeah. Well, Lewis
Hamilton.
That's where we are next week.
That's where we are next week. That's gonna be awesome. Looks like we got a green card. Ooh, Verstappen green card. Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice. That's out of 99, I think. Oh, 75. Oh, even better. Always great to get a Verstappen numbered card that's low. So that's really freaking cool.
Yeah, it was awesome though. Verstappen, I love seeing him raised up. I've never seen that before. Sitting on his car wearing the sombrero being raised up was pretty cool on the podium. And like, you know what I like is a lot of people talk about, oh, Verstappen and Hamilton fighting and all this because of what happened a couple of years ago. You know what? They have a really cordial relationship. Like, you watch them, they're shaking hands right at the race. Same thing with Leclerc. And then the cool down room, they were chatting away, talking about stuff happened. And it was interesting to see Verstappen and Leclerc, who were part of the sandwich, not really realize what had happened to Checo. And even Lewis, who was like front row seats right behind to witness it, didn't know what happened. So that tells you how, like, they're going so fast that they are really not, they're aware there's something's happened, but they are not aware, like, oh, this happened. And like, we get to see it all on TV and all the replays. They really don't know. They just know somebody's out, but they don't really necessarily know unless it's like, K-Mag in the wall where they drive past it.
Hey, it's Mexico. There you go.
Hey, that's so appropriate.
That's so appropriate, except, yeah, that's pretty good.
Poor Checo. You could hear the emotion in his voice. He's upset.
Like, I mean, that one kid was crying for like 31.
He wasn't crying. He was probably crying, like I said, because he didn't have an ice cream. The TV cut to this kid crying, and the guy. And
I was like, he couldn't get over it. He couldn't get over it.
Yeah, he's probably crying because his dad wouldn't give him an ice cream or something. It had nothing to do with it. It's so stupid. You know what's really interesting, I think, was the discussion between David Coulthard is one of the commentators and was saying that, oh, that's nice too.
That's a nice stroke. I mean, look, yeah, sorry, you finish your thought. I'll get into this next.
Anyways, I was just going to say, they were talking about having the ability to talk between
that would be
drivers. If the drivers could talk to each other, even on a team. And then he said that he had to hack it up. Yeah, they were joking that he said the problem is they would say that right away, like, I'm right behind you and stuff. So, anyways.
Well, the whole Drogovic thing here is that in practice one, you got all the
drive. It was all the FP2,
but all the FP2 drivers, F2 drivers got the drive. Like,
not all of them. You had Vesti, Berman, Pourchaire,
Hajar,
and Hazard.
Hajar. Yeah, exactly.
Those are the five.
I was going to say, Ollie Berman.
Pourchaire didn't really get to drive because the Alpine was having issues the whole time.
Fernando.
Or no, Dune's driving that. What's Pourchaire? Oh, Pourchaire's, no, he's Alfa Romeo. But yeah, they had problems.
And you got the Red Bulls.
Double
Red
Bull.
Bulls. You got the start and the finish. It's a bookend. It's a nice little bookend there. That's neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good race. Generally speaking, I think tire strategy is interesting.
I think they were going for a one-stop strategy.
Some of them weren't. Ferrari's never veered from Plan A, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, they're usually Plan F. Kimi Räikkönen.
I was joking about him during you have the red flag and they go in the pit, and I was like, if it was Räikkönen, you'd hear him making jokes about.
There you go.
In his plain voice. Piastri, he's so calm.
Even when
Tsunoda hits him not once but twice, Tsunoda's and then knocks himself out, and then you hear Tsunoda swearing and yelling and everything, and you hear Tsunoda didn't knock himself out. He actually got back in the race, but he fell way down the field, and Oscar's just like so calm.
It's like a little mosquito. It's like, what was that?
No, I mean he's very calm. You rarely hear him lose his temper.
The first thing that popped in my mind was lollipops. Like, who let this child in this track? And Oscar. Anyways, check it out if you have not watched that Lollipop. It's they do a really good F1 animation. It's really good. So Oscar.
Lollipop Studio, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I might actually get this graded if I can.
Yeah, you love your Oscar.
I love the Oscar Piastri. I think he's...
Also, it's weird that he looks like Bedard from hockey, and you also love Bedard. Like, every time I'm watching the Blackhawks play, I swear I think it's Oscar Piastri playing.
And we got a... Bam! Charles Leclerc refractor.
Nice.
That's interesting. Nice. He's wearing a mask.
Yeah, it's 2020.
Yeah, it is 2021. It's the older set, so that's cool. I actually thought this was the parallel, but it's the alternate art, but it's not. So that's cool. So next race we are in Brazil. It's a sprint. So
last sprint of the year.
If you have not played your chips, play your chips. Like I know we have some people that hadn't played the chips and they played the 3x on Max and 2x on Perez.
Thank you, Hunter.
And like thank you. It was like they basically lost 40 points as a result of or actually I guess maybe only 20 points. Because Checo only lost 10 points in this thing. So if it's a double negative, if it's
because of his passes.
Yeah, his passes actually got him through. So you got lucky, but yeah. So We will see you next race. Have a great week, folks.